Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be across this great world of ours. Today is July 11th, 2026, and it is the 30th day of my video challenge. And so today I am going to celebrate this 30-day mark. Uh, I have made it 30 straight days of making videos. I came really close a couple of times to saying fuck it and not doing a video for that day, and I'm really proud of myself that I said no, just sit down, and even if it's like a super short video, just make a video. And I did that 30 days. I did it for 30 days. Now I haven't put a time period on when I'm going to stop. Not a specific, I haven't set a time period. What I've said is that I'm going to keep making videos until I work through my discomfort and my resistance to making videos. And I haven't reached that yet. I've come a long ways in that 30 days. Definitely. I've come a long ways in that 30 days. And it's kind of a double-edged sword because I feel so happy about the progress that I've made. And it also leads me into that space of wondering, why was I not able to do this sooner? And I think that's a really dangerous trap to be in for a lot of different reasons. It it is helpful to go back, to look back and see maybe if you can, there's lessons you learned along the way that you can apply for the next time. That's always useful. But for people like myself who are stuck in a really negative pattern of self-criticism and self-loathing because of lots of things, it's very dangerous to look back, because all we see is the progress but none of the work. Um, and I have to constantly remind myself that the last 9 years I have not just been sitting on my hands. Have I made the progress I wanted to make? No. Were there possibilities for me to have gotten further faster? Absolutely. But I did a lot of work. I did a lot of work in those 9 years. I was constantly doing work, even when I was struggling with falling back into old patterns, which I think is inevitable when you're trying to change your life. Those patterns are going to persist until you have successfully replaced them with different patterns. Um, and I don't mean just different patterns, I mean healthy patterns, really healthy patterns, right? Because I can change my patterns, but one of the things I realized was sometimes I was changing an unhealthy pattern with another unhealthy pattern. Maybe slightly less unhealthy pattern, but it was still a pattern of distraction, right? That was being disguised as being more social or taking up a hobby, or I don't know. Uh, there's subtle nuances to that, right? Like maybe it wasn't quite as bad as my old patterns of being distracted from the things I needed to focus on. And in that, it was a win, but it was still a distraction, right? And that was also a win that I could recognize that as well and say, okay, like I need something else. I've done a lot of work, and it's so important. I think periodically, maybe once a quarter, every 3 months or so, to look back in your life and just say, and write down somewhere, like, here's all the things that I did and here's the progress I made. because that fades so quickly from our minds. The work that we've done and the progress we've made. And at some point, years in the future, all we're left with is, this seems so easy now. Why wasn't it easy 9 years ago? Why wasn't it easy 7 years ago? 5 years ago? Like, what the heck was going on? Why couldn't I do this? And it's kind of like working out. When you work out, it's not an overnight thing. You don't get stronger, faster, more flexible overnight. It's a gradual process. It's something that you just kind of do for a very long period of time, and at some point you go, wow, I'm stronger, I'm leaner, I'm fitter, right? But you've had those daily workouts that have, reminded you of all the work that it's taken. And we kind of don't have that when we're doing this kind of personal work, because it's not a specific routine that we do. It's things that we pick at and chip away at, from lots of different perspectives, both internal and external, that make that huge amount of progress for us, that one day suddenly we're like, wow, this thing that used to make me have like full on panic attacks, I can suddenly do. Why? And, sometimes we'll never know why. Like, I'll never know why it was so difficult for me back then. I'll never have the full, I kind of have a sense, but I'll never really know why I was having those panic attacks. And I don't think there's any one thing that caused it. I think it was a constellation of different things, that all added up to this massive disruption of my nervous system, which is what a panic attack is. It's just a massive disruption to your central nervous system, and you just can't function. Um, and we humans want to know why. Like why? I mean, and it's good to want to know why, right? Because then you can avoid these things in the future. But sometimes we get tripped up into that. And I feel like I'm never going to know, and it's not helpful for me to continue to want to know. I just have to celebrate that I have made this progress, when I did, and be really happy that it didn't take me longer than 9 years, right? That it only took me 9 years. I wish it would have only taken me 2 years. That didn't happen. Maybe it could have, maybe it never could have happened that way, right? Maybe it, this was as quickly as it ever could have happened given the resources I have. I've pretty much been doing this work on my own. I have worked with other people, to learn about, you know, other things, but it's basically been me, and I haven't even had like a stable financial foundation to work with, right? I've also been, like horribly financially destabilized this entire time. And you know what? Maybe that was part of what helped me as well. I kind of think that if I had been more financially stable, I would not have focused on trying to figure out what was going wrong with me, right? I would have just tried to focus on enjoying my life, because that's what I've done in the past, honestly. I didn't really start diving into this work until I left my life in San Francisco, came back to Kansas City, and realized that nobody wanted to hire me for various reasons, right? And that's when I was like, oh man, I got to figure things out. And maybe that was all part of it. You know, honestly, I don't know too many people who have successfully worked their way through a massive phobia on their own. I'm sure there are people out there. I think it's pretty rare though. Um, because of the nature of phobias. They throw you into a panic. They are irrational fears. You can't think your way through it. You can kind of start to understand it, but you have to take action that every fiber of your body is telling you to run away from. And that's difficult without other people there supporting you and helping you actually take that action. And, you know, when I say that, I realize that that's what I've been wanting. I didn't know how to express that. Like, I wanted somebody to just sit down with me while I was trying to make the videos, to be there, to help calm my nervous system, to help me feel grounded and safe and steady. Like I wanted a friend or somebody, and I just like I didn't know how to ask for that, right? Um, and there were times where I would be a part of a video series. I had some friends where the four of us were doing a I don't know if it was weekly or monthly, I forget, uh, sort of video lecture chat thing that I was a part of, and I didn't have that hard of a time. I really didn't have that hard of a time to sit down there and do that with them. It was when I was trying to sit down and it was just me, and you know, I suddenly felt all of this self-judgment. You know, what am I going to say? Is it going to be any good? I don't have the right equipment for it. Um, this is going to look awful. Nobody's going to care about it. Um, and I was like literally trying to be, it was as if I was in, you know, grade school signing up for baseball, but my expectations were that of a major league professional. So I had those expectations on myself, but I'm literally just at the beginning of even trying to figure out how the equipment works. You know, and yeah, it was just insane. And I think that's like a really difficult thing that happens to adults when you get out of school. We forget how to be beginners. We forget how to be beginners at something in life. And we have spent so much time as well. I've graduated from school. I've graduated, you know, with diplomas or degrees, and then I've gone into the workplace and I've worked enough to, you know, sort of become good at something. And when you have to start fresh and be that complete beginner again, it's we forget how to give ourselves that space to just be complete beginners and just be the student, the empty cup back at square one. It's hard I know that whenever I got to a place of, I felt, you know, a modest amount of mastery in what I was doing, it felt really good to have mastery in something. Even if nobody else was giving you compliments, even if nobody else was giving me compliments, the feeling that I could go into a situation and handle it well just felt good, right? It's like, oh yeah, I can handle this. I know what's going on. And so to start back at page one, especially when you are really financially struggling, it feels like drowning. It feels like you're about to drown. Especially in America. America, we have no safety net. We have no safety net. America is still we're still a very young country. 250 years. That's not and we started fresh. We had a bunch of people from around the world come to North America, invade this land, take it over from the people who were already here, and create something pretty darn new, right? And that was starting in the 1600s, so like 1400, 400 years ago or so. And we didn't officially become a nation until 250 years ago. And so our ideas of what society is supposed to look like, um, although we got really lucky that our founding fathers basically were scholars and philosophers, and they were very much into the Enlightenment period that was going on over in England and France, and the French Revolution had just happened, and you had English philosophers like John Locke, where he said life, liberty, and property. And to his credit, um, Thomas Jefferson changed that to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, because he knew that it was more than about property. It was about these intangible things that are so much more important than the tangible things in life, right? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Not founding a religion, a state religion. All of these things that were not attainable when they wrote those founding documents, but they hoped that we would continue to strive for, right? And so we got really, really lucky that way. And it's still a battle because there's people in our country that are trying to change all of that for the worse, trying to roll everything back to autocracy, oligarchy. Right? You have to constantly fight against that. But we're still a nation of like, hey, you're on your own, figure it out. Unless you're a large corporation, and then we give you billions of dollars in tax money to help you figure it out, right? Because as much as some people in this country like to say the government shouldn't pick a winner, they say that until it comes to them, and then they're like, absolutely, you should help me survive because that's going to help our country, which it doesn't. Good, large, wealthy people are not job creators. Um, Wall Street is a wealth creator. And the one thing that gets in the way of wealth creation is putting a lot of people to work. They they want to put as few people to work as possible so that they can keep all the profits. So they're not job creators. Consumers are job creators, right? Just remember, the average consumer is the job creator, and Wall Street is the wealth aggregator. They just they suck all the wealth out of the economy and aggregate it to as few people as possible. That's their job. That's what they're trying to do, right? But so I'm celebrating this 30 days. I'm gonna keep going, um, and I think at some point, and I'm already starting to feel this desire, internal desire to want to really start to focus on topics, which means that I need to prepare in advance. I need to there's things that I want to talk about that I need to do some research, some homework. A, so that I get my facts straight. B, so that I can write a script that stays on point so I don't meander. The most valuable thing in every single person's life is their time. So I want to start respecting everyone's time and get to my point as quickly as possible, as succinctly as possible, while still retaining, a clear message. So those are my goals next, because yeah, there's a lot of things that I see in the world that I've noticed a lot of most people don't see. So I want to talk about those things. And yeah, we're on our way. Thank you so much. And just remember, you are more loved than you know, and far more valuable than you can imagine. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.